Live exclusively on DAZN. A champion with a disputed crown. A self-proclaimed king without a throne. Vegas crowns champions. Barrios versus Garcia, February 21st. Enter the promo code at checkout to get an exclusive discount on the pay-per-view when bought with a DAZN subscription. Rules and restrictions apply.
Yeah, just want to kind of give you the floor with this. This is going to go out tomorrow morning. And Bare Knuckle London is this weekend. And kind of big headline piece from last week is that Lee Selby has signed for BKB. And yeah, obviously a big crossover. We've seen James DeGale enter the Bare Knuckle last year. But Lee Selby, former world champion, and a big signing to the bare knuckle division.
Look, it's a signal of intent from BKB. I'm working the event this weekend at Indigo at the O2 Arena. It's a sellout. I think it's 2,500 or it's full anyway, whatever Indigo takes. That huge bank gallery. We were there for IFLTV when I hosted Coogan as the MC that night when we had an amazing event there. It's an amazing venue. It's a fulsome return for BKB to London after a little bit of an absence to that venue. It's a star-studded event. There's loads of VIPs coming. I know that they've really pulled the stops out for this. We've just celebrated their 50th event in Miami a few weeks ago, where a couple of days later they also signed Yuriorkis Gamboa, the former Olympic gold medalist and world champion, who fought a pantheon of stars towards the end of his career, you know, including Pitbull Cruz, Terence Crawford. Crawford said he punched as hard as anyone he ever fought. Obviously, that was later on in his career, but he's made for bare knuckle, so that's exciting. You rightly mentioned Lee Selby being signed. He'll be around all week. He's down at the press conference on Friday, and he'll be at the event on Saturday. As we know, Lee Selby, I wrote about him myself as being the Welsh Mayweather. I went to his victory parade on the big bus at the end of his career, after he'd won the world title. I mean, obviously he lost to Josh Warrington in Leeds, which was a bad night for him, but I was there the night he won the world featherweight title against Yevgeny Gradovich. He's a brilliant boxer. He's always wanted to come back. He's still only 38. So it's a great time for him to come back into the sport. And as we saw last year when PAULIE MALIGNAGGI fought Tyler Goodjohn in Leeds, I think the numbers on Talk Sports on the live broadcast, I think it did 200,000 views. There's a fascination for bare knuckle, and it's a really big year for BKB as they expand into Bally's casinos. They do a whole 360. They increase the roster, and I do think there are signs that more and more big name boxers want to come into the sport. And at the end of the day, Joe, Selby and Malignaggi may well meet in bare knuckle.
That's mad, and it does feel like, obviously you're in the sport. I'm more from the outside looking in, and I will definitely come to an event when it doesn't clash with the big fight nights. But it does feel like there has been a turning point, certainly from an outside public perception, and the fact they are signing these big former world champions kind of goes along with that ideology as well. So I am looking forward to it. I will certainly be keeping a close eye on Lee Selby, as we have done for many years in the boxing world. But do you get the sense that there's going to be some more big signings as well, crossing over from traditional boxing?
I can't reveal them, but I know David Tatro, the president of BKB, who's been very instrumental he was instrumental with Golden Boy, with other big broadcasters and companies, being very erudite and at the cutting edge of a lot of innovations in broadcasting. I believe that he may be revealing more signings.
Okay.
Could be next week. It could be the end of this event. I don't know who they are yet, but I know that there's a desire and ambition from Tatro and his team to invest more in boxers. The boxing, this is Bare knuckle boxing is a completely different combat sport. It's the most ancient combat sport, the most natural mano a mano combat sport, but it's also the fastest growing new combat sport. And you know how excited about it I am, that I am very involved in it, and I am telling the stories of fighters, and I am doing post-fight interviews, and I'm involved as talent with the broadcast. You know, they're making huge leaps and bounds the whole time, both in the distribution and acquisition of different arms and different countries where it can be broadcast to, but at the same time developing the roster, but making stars of lots of fighters who have extraordinary stories who people don't really know yet because the sport's just really coming out into the sunlight. So I think it's a really good time for the sport. There's a lot of very strong, safe, positive, knowledgeable, experienced hands making this work. And there's the great backing of the owner of the company, Mike Vasquez, who's a very wealthy, self-made businessman from Miami, originally of Cuban extraction. And he has a great desire to get this sport and get this organization really moving. On Saturday night at Indigo, I also believe, and there's a documentary that I've made on him with a friend of mine who's a documentary filmmaker, Joseph Brody. We made it for BKB last week on Marco Martignac, who is one of the world champions in the organization, a multi-weight world champion, a former bank robber, went to prison, amazing character. He's loved in Croatia. You know, we've got some great Croatian sportsmen. You're a West Ham fan. Remember when Slaven Bilic,
Yep.
what was both player, was a manager of Croatia. They're a country that punches above their weight. Filip Hrgovic, very popular in the heavyweight division right now. Mirko Krokop. We've made a documentary about Marco Martignac, who's headlining in London against a Mexican-American, Ike Villanueva. It should be a barnstormer. But the exciting thing about it is there's 14 fights on every fight. Well, I think it's 80 or 90% of fights end in the first or second round. By knockout, by stoppage. There's always drama. I can really foresee, it's a really good card. I can really foresee 10 stoppages in the 14 fights. It's a 3 hour show, three and a half hour show. It's like speed boxing without gloves. It's really thrilling and really exciting. And I just hope we get more and more eyeballs on it.
How good is what is it, Martignac?
Marco Martignac.
Marco Martignac. How good is he though, Gareth?
Absolutely brilliant. I really do think he's up there. There's four guys who I'd mention in bare knuckle right now who I'd say are the Mount Rushmore, and it's Marco Martignac, Gustavo Trujillo, the heavyweight champion, Cub Hawkins, who's held belts in a couple of weight divisions, an African American guy, and LT Smash Nelson, whose parents, I think, are originally South African, but who lives in America. And he was a very bright student, and he's a two-weight world champion as well, middle, super middle. Brilliant fighters. They're the Mount Rushmore at the moment. But for me, Marco Martignac is the number one pound for pound. 220-pound fighter. Absolutely brilliant. 100-kilo fighter, absolutely brilliant. I think he should go up to heavyweight and fight the Cuban Gustavo Trujillo, but he doesn't want to. You can lose. It's a duel, bare knuckle boxing. You could lose easily just by one punch. One punch turns the fight around sometimes. But for me, he's the best. He plays the villain. He's got an incredible backstory. He's a superstar in the making.
Is the Cuban heavyweight you mentioned the guy that beat Lucas Brown?
Yeah, who's eight wins, 8 knockouts in bare knuckle now. Yeah, 8 wins, 8 knockouts. Yeah, he's the guy that beat Lucas Brown, correct, out in Miami.
I'm learning about the sport through the lens of Gareth A. Davies. Could Lee Selby feasibly become a world champion though in the sport?
Yeah, I mean, he was always beautiful brutality. The Welsh Mayweather for a reason, brilliantly defensive. As I say, he's still only 38. I have an inkling he could go very, very well in bare knuckle. It's a different sport, sharper edges. The guys talk about it. They've all been in different combat sports and they all talk about it as being a distinctly different sport. The feel is different. But yeah, I think he's got it in him to be a world champion. It's going to be a very, very interesting journey. I can't wait to see him this week.
Where can people watch this fight night on Friday, Gareth?
It is live on TalkSport on the boxing YouTube channel. I think we are in the arena from around 4 in the afternoon. The dark fights, I'd say you can watch it live from about 5 p.m. onwards. It'll be up there. The link's up there on the boxing YouTube channel. It does very, very good numbers. So you can watch it there live and free, by the way, on the TalkSport boxing YouTube channel. And
it's a pretty stacked schedule for the rest of the year with the BKB, right?
I think at the moment with the BALIES events, they will probably be looking at 20 events this year, something like that, and maybe even more.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll definitely get down to one and see. I don't know. Might be a little bit too squeamish for it at the start, but I'm sure.
I don't think you will at all. You love a bit of blood, gore, and orchestrated violence anyway. You will fall in love with it, as will everyone who's into combat sports, who sees it live or sees it, on the broadcast. It's so compelling. And once you learn about the fighters and their stories, it becomes even more so.
Okay, Gareth, thank you very much. Bit of a long piece that took many different twists and turns. And I'll catch up with you next week and enjoy the bare knuckle. Try not to get hit by some bone on bone.
No, I think I did my rehearsal by being around Big John this week. I'm there to commentate, narrate, storytell, and put the people in the limelight. To be honest, that's why I'm there.
Very quickly, when's the documentary that you filmed being released?
With Marco Martignac.
Yeah.
I think it's being finished today and it'll be out in the next couple of days. Very proud of the work that myself and Mr. Brody did. So enjoy when you see it. It'll be out on my...
Send me the link and I'll watch it.
We'll be collaborating with BKB on all their channels as well. BKB Bare Knuckle.
Okay, Gareth, thank you very much and I'll see you soon, my friend.
Always a pleasure. Cheers, Joe. Always a pleasure to be on IFLTV.
Live exclusively on DAZN, a champion with a disputed crown, a self-proclaimed king without a throne. Vegas crowns champions, Barrios versus Garcia, February 21st. Enter the promo code at checkout to get an exclusive discount on the pay-per-view when bought with a DAZN subscription. Rules and restrictions apply.